Thank you. So now I need to make you Francis so we can all see you clearly instead of everybody else. Thank you. So if everybody else wouldn't mind muting yourself, and that'll save you being the main person on screen besides Francis, because we'd like Francis to be the main person on screen. But if everyone else mute yourselves, then that should make Francis our speaker. We have some lovely lady there who's looks like you're going to be our speaker for this afternoon at the moment. So Francis, if you start speaking, it should take you up and show you as the main speaker. Thanks, Francis.
Sure. Thanks, Anne. And lovely to be back. And thank you for the introduction. And Anne Lane and Mark Hinchy and I think, I don't know, we go back 30, 40 years, don't we? A long time in various different ways of interacting. So it's a great pleasure to be here in NAIDOC week as well. So we've got a number of celebrations happening. So I too pay my respects to our elders, past, present, and emerging on land that was never ceded. So way back, I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about the centre and some of the changes over 32 years, and then some of the political backdrop. And then I would introduce, or not introduce, you've done that, Anne, I'll throw to Abang, and you'll hear many, many different stories from Abang and all the work that she's currently involved in, and then to Sanji. So back in 1993, I was a much younger social worker working with people living a street lifestyle in King's Cross. And there were a number of agencies, probably 5, who started to see this phenomena of a lot of people coming to Australia seeking asylum, but having no support and no idea where to go next. And they were accessing homeless services and food. So it was, the idea when a good idea gets the right time. That's really what happened when a number of agencies came together thinking, what can we do? And there was actually a conversation with Sister Nolene White from Good Shepherd Sisters, who many of you would know. And the Good Shepherd Sisters had a 3-bedroom, suburban house in Surrey Hills that they were considering handing over to a low-income family for a period of time. But they said, why don't you try using this for a year and we'll pilot something and see, what the need is. And so that was the beginning of the Asylum Seeker Centre. And people started, all of the people from different agencies, we all sort of put in our own time because they had enough money for a part-time worker. And many of you here, I think, contributed in those early days as well. And, back in 1993, Keating was Prime Minister, and you would come and seek asylum and you would have your claim considered by the government, and you'd have an outcome within 12 to 18 months. 18 months was seen a long time then. And now you look at it, we know from Sanji how long you've waited, but we've got people at the centre who's waited 5, 7, 10 plus years still with no outcome. And that does terrible things for people to live in that kind of limbo and that pressure of not knowing what's going to happen. Back in 1993, for the first 20 years, we were at Surrey Hills, and we started to really outgrow that. For the first 20 years, we probably were helping 400 people a year, and we had about 8 full-time staff, and we had about 80 volunteers. So we've always been, heavily reliant on volunteers. Just get some water, I think. Now, in 2025, we support 4,500 people. We have 45 staff. We have 500 active volunteers and 3,000 volunteers on a waiting list. So that is such a big difference. After the 20 years, the Good Shepherd Sisters had to sell the house. So they gave us a percentage of the income. And it was really through the Hungarian Jewish community, particularly the Betcher Foundation, who remember the kindness that Australians showed to those who fled the uprising in the 50s. And they provided us with enough funds to buy the 2-story property that we have in Newtown. And that, with all that space, it's enabled us to support so many more people. We also have a presence once a week in Auburn, and we do a lot of work where people are living, so we don't expect them to come to us all the time. So that makes a really big difference. So we were able to move into Newtown in 2013, and it just took off, really. We now have more need than we can ever meet. We are supporting 4,500 people in really practical ways. We've always been a place of welcome, a place where people can get practical support. And that goes down to getting a Opal card, topping up an Opal card for someone so that people can get around, that providing employment services, because employment's so important. We provide a health service as well. So our nurses are paid for by the government, but our GPs provide their time for free. So we've got both support from Sydney Uni and New South Wales Uni. Professor Mark Harris has given us pro bono for 22 years, a clinic a week. And he doesn't leave until the last person does. So on Monday night, that was 7 o'clock. That is the kind of care that he gives. Lyndall Trevina from Sydney Uni has given us over 10 years, and we have two other GPs. So, and like say if I talk about the health clinic, we live by partnerships. So Douglas Hanley Moyer does all of our pathology for free. They wouldn't do that for a government department. We have all the imaging that's required is done for free by St. Vincent's Private Hospital. So our physios give their time for free, and that's really important when people have gone through often torture or the stress that manifests in people's bodies. So physio is a very popular and much needed area. And through universities, we access optometry and basic dentistry because that's also out of the reach of people. And we are also supported by the Teachers Federation Union, and they come in and raise money for us, but they allow us to access the services from their health clinic as well. So you can see that, from the government giving us 2.5 nurses, it's a really, it's a modest investment for the amount of work that how we can support people. Because people also don't have money for pharmaceuticals. So we also subsidize that because there's no point if you've got diabetes, you need insulin, whether you've got a job or not. So, and we also run intensive casework support because people often arrive and they need quite a deal of support at the beginning. And then people on the whole thrive. It's just that the support at the right time makes the difference. But this is against a backdrop of quite a harsh, as I'm sure you all know, political system in Australia, it's interesting for people who come, and Australia takes around 20,000 people on a humanitarian visa. People are met at the airport, their name is used, and they get 5 years of support to really help people establish. Not saying that is easy, but it's the opposite for people seeking asylum. So people seeking asylum, until probably only about 8 years ago, were not referred to by their name. They were referred to by their number, or their boat number that they came on, which, as you imagine, is very dehumanizing. And they used to get access to financial support, which was 89% of Newstart, which we know Newstart is below the poverty line, but they used to get that, which was to help people if they became unwell, or it takes a while to get a job, particularly in a country where your English may not be up to that level, or you haven't got any Australian work experience. So that was in place until Minister Morrison at the time started to change that program. It's got a silly name. It's called SRSS, Status Resolution Support Service. But back then, the spend was about 300 million per year for enabling people to get, it was means tested, that access to some financial support. And that was pretty well overnight slashed. And basically, it is now for the total spend by the government now is down by 97%. it's less than $20 million. So it's very hard to get on. We've got, a lot of people where we appeal and appeal for them to get this small amount of money and often rejected. So it's a constant part of our work is to try and seek to influence and change policy, and to really work with and alongside the people we support to raise their voices, because that's so important. Sanji and I have got to know each other quite well over many years, but Sanji and I both gave evidence at the Senate inquiry into poverty. And this inquiry was about how are people coping on a Centrelink payment. So Sanji, I'm sure, will tell her own story of that. But, we're talking about people who don't get a Centrelink payment. So when you start to look at deep poverty for some people, who are, it's very hard to afford a bond when you first arrive in Australia with no money. So it's hard to get appropriate housing. That's just one of the challenges. But saying that, our place, and if you've ever been there, a bang was there today, wasn't it? It was healthy chaos, I would say. There were lots of people, lots of kids. We provide a hot meal every day. There's always people, volunteers to welcome, to really help people, and all of our teams are there. So it's a place where we really work to recognize and play on people's strengths, because there are enormous amount of strengths. There's a great deal of difficulty in terms of the government making it hard to survive, but the support of the community and the strength of the individual is what makes the difference. And, with our aim always is to help people thrive and become independent. And that happens. Sanji's a perfect example of that. And as you say, like an entrepreneur, that's why it's one of the reasons I find Sanji inspiring. That in a sense of, a lot of challenges, but still with the right supports and all your initiative, the work that you currently do, which is fantastic. So we see, when someone gets a job, we all feel happy for them and everyone gets to know. But when someone gets protection, we feel that people can breathe again. They can start their life with some certainty, and that makes a big difference. What we've seen, though, recently with the cost of living is that, for us to run our centre, it costs us about $5.5 million per year. And a lot of that we give out to people because we're trying to keep people from becoming homeless. So if someone's working 2 or 3 or 4 jobs and they lose some of that work, it's very quick that you get into rental arrears. And then, so we try and top people's rents up in that circumstance whilst we're helping them find alternative jobs so that people don't become homeless. But, we're not 100% succeeding when we're looking at 20% of people who are rough sleeping at the moment are people on temporary visas. And if you come under the current state government as well, you're on a temporary visa, you're not actually eligible for homeless services, which is, back in the day, in the 90s when I was in the Cross, no one asked to look at your visa. If you were homeless, people were helped. So it's a very different lens, isn't it? But saying that, when you look at the partnerships that we have and the goodwill in the community, it's almost the opposite in terms of how the federal government particularly reflects that. So we worked very hard to get the institutions in Sydney, such as the Governor, the Conservatory of Music, New South Wales Art Gallery, the Museums of History, to say to people, you are welcome. And we've got partnerships with everyone because you're looking at a human being and the whole person. And whilst you're waiting a long time, it is great to know where you can go on the weekend, where you'll be welcome and what's free. And, the New South Wales Art Gallery, we've done several programs with them. We're about to do another one. And they couldn't be more helpful. And I think those ways where we can get institutions to openly say you are welcome makes a really big difference. And I think I'm talking too much. So I'm going to try and bring myself in, and because you've got to hear from Abang and Sanji. But just want to say that there are many ways that people help us. And when we see the initiatives of our volunteers, it is amazing. And we see, the relationships that we've got with the Muslim community, with the Jewish community. Jews for Social Action have, for over 22 years, supported our centre every fortnight by providing a hot meal and in school holidays, some activities. So that's just one example. There are so many people that really support us, whether that's through donating funds, which we always need, because of that 5.5 million we raise, only 500,000 comes from the government. Everything else has to be fundraised. And, we had to restructure last year because, we have to live according to what we've got. And, we had to let some staff go because it is, we're working with government at the moment to say, you need to look at recognising the work that we do as in the support of people in the New South Wales community. The state government is very good at saying it's not a state issue, it's a federal government issue, which is only partially right because people live in this community. But people are generous in so many ways with their time as well, or by different programs of just inclusion, which is so important. And it really does make the difference. We had worked with a consultancy firm, pro bono, LEK Consulting, to help us for an independent group to look at how much money we save government or what does an investment in centres like ours make a difference. And they came down with a modest, it's sort of understated, but for every dollar invested in us, the multiplier is 3.4. So it shows the work of the not-for-profits and the charity sector. I think at the moment, our job should really be to complement the work of government. But what is happening is that we are doing the work of government. We become the safety net. So it's a constant campaign for us to get that changed. So we work nationally with the Refugee Council of Australia that ABANG is very closely aligned with, and with our colleagues in every other state to keep onto the government. So you need to just be a bit relentless on this. And the support from people like you in the community and the interest makes a big difference. And on that note, I really will stop. But thank you very much. And of course, afterwards, really happy to answer any questions. But I might pass now to Abang, who is a wonderful co-chair of our organisation at the Asylum Seekers Centre. And I would say a personal friend and also someone who I admire greatly. As you'll get to know as Abang tells some of her story.
Thank you so much, Frances. And can I say thanks, Anne, for that welcome as well. I just wanted to acknowledge all the work that Frances has done for the Asylum Seeker Centre for the past 30 years and her ongoing contribution to the sector. She did not know that I was going to say that, but I just wanted to really commend you. It's been a long day. We've been together and now the day still goes on. Thank you all for the opportunity to be able to share with you snippets of my journey. It is quite a long and difficult journey, but I will summarize it in short. So I am an educator. I've been a teacher for the past 10 years, teaching across Australia, teaching in remote places like Mount Isa in Western Sydney and Southwestern Sydney. And I'm also working on a really exciting project and called Buckets of Hope, which is an initiative that I started, and it helps people with resilience. I give back to the community because I feel that I'm in a very privileged position. I myself was born during the war in Sudan. And unfortunately, like most children, I was one of the children that was impacted by the civil war. And I then escaped and I was separated from my family from the age of 5. And I ended up surviving 2 civil wars, not just one. From the age of 5, I escaped 6 regions seeking safety. And finally, having to arrive in another country called Kenya. And in Kenya, for the first time at the age of 11, I was able to go to school. And I just embraced that education. I was very happy that I was able to have a little bit of knowledge, but that was disrupted because unfortunately my father was assassinated, and I ended up again having to escape and being in a refugee camp as a child. And I arrived in Australia as a 17-year-old with no family. And the community that supported me was St. Vincent's de Paul. So I lived in a women's shelter in Randwick, and I was supported by Joanne and Graham Russell, and I was supported by Patricia Dunn, who I loved them dearly. And so I feel that because I was given that resettlement opportunity to come to Australia as a refugee, I was able to embark on this long held passion of having education and being able to use knowledge to impart into younger generations. So I went to try to get into university, and it was not easy. I was told that I would not be able to be accepted because I had less than 6 years formal schooling. But I did not give up. I was quite persistent, and I worked very hard. So then I got accepted, and I went to university, and hence, teaching for the past 10 years. And so while I was teaching, I realized that the issues that I went through as a child doesn't necessarily happen only during war. It happens with many young people going through family traumas, or, people seeking asylum who are, or people in the workplaces who are really stressed about work. So I started sharing about my journey, and started talking about the strategies, this visualization strategy that I use during my time. And these buckets of hope came to me when I was 7 years old. Something really frightening had happened during my escapes. I began to forget the faces of my family and what they looked like, because trauma has a way of impacting not only our physical, but also our mental. And that really frightened me. So then I started, thinking about what could I really remember about my family. And I remember these buckets that they used to carry. I'm not sure if you've seen any African women carrying buckets in their heads with water, or, and so that stayed with me. And I started then using that to put emotions in those different separate buckets. And I felt that it really helped me. And one of the things that, one of the buckets is for growth and generosity, for example. And I realized that by giving and helping people, it made me feel better. So, when I took a break from teaching, I decided that I wanted to contribute, and I I realized that there are communities who are vulnerable, and so I'm very happy to be part of the board of the Asylum Seekers and volunteering, and also for the Refugee Council of Australia. And now, by writing my book, I'm hoping to share not only just my story of survival, but I want to really share my story of, like, thriving and living in Australia. I'm also a mom. So, my son keeps me busy. I've been a single mom for many years, and I have a wonderful son. And so I feel that there's just so much that I can contribute. and being provided that opportunity of education and then meaningful employment, because I believe that people from refugee backgrounds are not just victims, but they also are contributors when they're given the opportunity. And I would like to use my privilege to be able to help other people. And so speaking to you today is one of the ways that I could use my voice to be able to share. And and obviously I have a very, very long and big story, but I'm happy to take questions from you. I'm sure you have lots of questions to ask. And the challenges don't end once you're in a great country like Australia. There's still that navigating the system and settling into a new country and starting from scratch. And it is through organizations like the Asylum Seeker Center that people have hope. And it is through, in my case, to organizations like the St. Vincent's de Paul, who have taken that role to give me accommodation and to believe in me. And so, yeah, so thank you so much for the opportunity. And that's just a short snippet of my journey.
That's great, Abang. Thank you. And I really encourage questions of Abang because that was a short version of a multi-layered life and an inspiring one. And now to another inspiring woman, Sanji, who will tell us some of her story and her creativity and her initiative that she constantly uses and her lateral approach to creating her own company. So over to you, Sanji.
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Sangi. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you, Francis. I want to acknowledge, Francis, you are this wonderful. We will miss you so much. Yeah. So, yep. I got some notes here. Um, yes, I come to Australia 2018, and I'm still waiting for my visa. I'm also a single mom with 3 children, and without AAC, I don't think I could have continued when I lost hope. They give it back to me, everything. I got 3 beautiful children. When I came in 2018, I got COVID start nearly. So I got facing many problems without Medicare and without any jobs. So AAC start to helping me find to paying rental, supporting. And I want to tell a little bit about the AAC because because without AAC I couldn't making happen this business, the things. So yeah, my health got many issues like diabetic, cholesterol, and chronic health issues. So AAC clinic helping me all the time buying medication. They supporting me and check there, and our family and children dentist also they recommend to us AAC. So Opal, AAC helping us to Opal recharge and school wave letter, supporting letter all the time. As a single mom, I'm working at many cafes and many places. I can afford to pay my children's school fees, full school fees, because our visa not supported by school fees. Yeah. So yeah, that's 1 second. Sorry. Yeah, that's not having work rights to access government support has made everyday struggle. But I keep telling myself, may not have everything, but I do have my hands, my skills, and my love to cooking. That's how Sangi's Kitchen was born, from a deep love of food and from the wanting to create better life for my children. I started small, selling at street stalls, catering for small events, and slowly people began to notice the flavors and authentic and heard behind every dish and every curry. This year, I launched my own food trailer, and I now make and sell handcrafts condiment like jars, like a eggplant, ginger tamarind chutney, and everything is made from scratch from commercial kitchen. It's been hard, but it's been beautiful too. My two beautiful daughters helping me this in the kitchen, and my son proudly tells my mommy has a food truck now. So without AAC, so nothing happened. When I tell my struggle, I already had my food trailer. AAC contribute some funds for me artwork. I'm doing a full artwork. You can see in AAC website soon my trailer. Through all this, AAC been like a second family, always encourage, guiding, and lifting me up. I wouldn't be there, their support. So as a single mom, I'm facing many problems like this. So we don't have any centralink, no any government support. So everything, the bills, I want to work and I want to pay by myself. My second daughter went to university, so that's Francis have told before this. We have went to the poverty meeting with a senator. So I tell my situation 2 years ago. When my second daughter have HSC, my house surround with rats. So my daughter's books, everything, rats eating and the urine pass, and she can't do, she's HSC. Even she's uniform also, everything is gone. So she's I come to AAC and tell them to what's my situation. They're helping me to find to do something. So from the AAC, so I born and they're helping me. So without any government support, it's very hard, like me as a single mom. So our kitchen is always want to helping like me, like a single mom from refugee background who want. So I want to help her. I want to help from them. The helper means the kitchen helper from food trailer. I want to help me back to like me a refugee people. Thank you.
Back to you. Oh, thank you. Thank you all, the three of you, just so much. I'm full of questions, but there might be other people that would like to begin asking some questions of these, of Francis, Abang or Sanji. Actually, I am going to start. Abang, do you have citizenship status yet or visa status?
Yeah, so I was fortunate. I was one of the, well, it used to be 13,000, but now it's obviously 20,000 accepted refugees. So I was given a humanitarian visa, and it meant that by arriving as under the humanitarian visa, I was afforded some support.
Mm-hmm.
And so I now have a citizenship. Obviously, I'm an Australian citizen, and I have been a child, stateless, I guess, for many years, living as a refugee until I became an Australian citizen in 2000 and I think 2006.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's why I was able to go to university, and I was able to be able to work in Australia.
Thanks, Abang. Other people have questions that you'd like to ask? Thanks, Mark. Are you putting your hand up or?
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks, Mark.
When I hear so many amazing stories, I almost need a half an hour of silence to be able to take in the depth of what I've heard. And I want to thank each of you for sharing your world and how you've made a difference. I mean, the resilience I mean, you've got not just buckets, you've got shiploads of it. And I just think, I worked with Sudanese refugee children at Auburn for about 3 years, and they're very traumatized. So I just kind of think, your story of being 7 years of age and 11 and to coming to Australia, and I'd be interested to hear from Sandy as well, at those moments when, the resilience is at a very low level, what's been the support or the things that you've been able to do to maintain your own selves? Because I'm very interested in trauma and resilience, and I think it's good for us to hear, because we Australians kind of think we do hardly done by on many occasions, but we don't understand. We take so much for granted, and I'd be interested to know what you have to say about the way you have been able to draw on various things to keep you resilient and keep on going.
So maybe a bang if you begin, and then we'll hear from Sanji.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, that's a very good question, Margaret. I get asked that a lot, actually. How do you keep going? So when I was younger, I used to wonder who to blame. Who do I blame? Is it my parents for giving birth to me in this horrendous world? Is it the government? Is it the rebels for killing their own people, for waging wars? And I used to ask, could it be God? Is God there? If God is there, why is God trusting humans with this? But this is as a child, so I had to really think about the horrors and things that was going on around me. So then I realized that rather than looking for someone to blame, I had to look inward. What can I do to help myself, and what can I do to help people around me? And I found that when I did that, I was able to get better outcomes. And so, when I was younger, I didn't have resources and I didn't have power, but I was able to help other young orphans like me, for example, move into the bomb shelters, or help moms who were too traumatized to look after their children. I would assist in one way. I also had a cousin who had polio and couldn't walk, so I helped her a lot. She was the same age as me, and she was in a far worse situation than I am. And so, I think having that mindset has then led me to think beyond, the external and start looking at my own self. And when I was told no, that I could not get into university, or I could not do that, I then utilized that strategy again. What can I do to actually show them that I can do it? And so that's what I tell my students. I tell them I don't know everything, but I will make sure that I find out, what I don't know, and together we can learn. And I think that has really helped me transform beyond the trauma. And I don't believe that trauma leaves us. I believe that trauma, we can negotiate with it. And that's what I am actually exploring at the moment. And by the way, I'm not sure whether the publisher will agree with the title of the book, but it is a working title at the moment. But so I'm just exploring this idea of how do we use our own difficulties to be able to have meaningful lives and to be able to help other people. And I've come to the realization that, that gives better outcomes in terms of having purpose of life, because then it is too difficult if we only look at the negative.
Thanks, Abang. Sanji, would you like to pick up Mark's question?
Yes. As a single mom, so almost 7 years, I'm waiting for my visa status, not any updates. So I'm thinking I want to change myself. I don't want to every time hoping to without any support. I am hoping for my children and me. That's why I want to open Sangi's kitchen. This means Sangi's kitchen is only not for me. So I want to I'm doing some cooking classes as well. So for my community, and I improve myself, and I I give some good good my sorry, my language is very poor. I'm
Oh,
learning English from AAC. So yeah, now is my kitchen, Sangi's kitchen is coming, is already got this year Asian women won Asian women awards this year. So we got it's because my English is poor, but I can talk language with my food. It's love.
yeah.
So that food, I know how hard to working that time and these 7 years. So from this business, so I want to make other like me single mother is give some opportunity to learn something my food, and they're working earning some from like one me, and I want to change my life with without without any struggling, waiting while waiting this visa status. That's very stress. So I want to pay my lawyer as well. It's very huge money to pay my lawyer, and everything like as a mom. So three children still studying. So I want to fill up my rice bowl without any support from government. So it's very hard.
Thanks, Sanji,
Thank
for
you.
sharing more of your story. Other questions or comments? Thanks, Sharon.
Oh, hi, Sanji, Abang, and Francis. It's a lovely afternoon. I'd love to know where Sanji makes her food available. Are you in Sydney? I'm not sure where you are or how you can be accessed by the public.
Yes, I'm based from Sydney, and we sending food around all around the Sydneys, and we have I'm renting a commercial kitchen at Strathville, but we sending around Sydney, and we do live catering as well from our kitchen. We come to your place, we bring everything. Even single plate and everything, just give the space. We cook there and we serve there. So we do everything, and if you found more, you can go with our Instagram or Facebook. So we update everything on Instagram and Facebook.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Maybe we'll be able to try your food.
And
Sure. Thank you.
sorry.
Francis, you were going to come in there, Francis?
I just want to say, having eaten Sangi's food, it is fantastic. I think we're all in love. My favorite is the eggplant relish. So you can buy the jars of it, and it's vegan, isn't it? It's no. You do the ad for it, Sangi.
Yes, yes. I do condiment jars as well. That's because the market sometimes, and it's not going well. Is sometimes this market is stops and everything. So I want to like a regular base income. I'm selling my condiment jars, making from commercial kitchen, and that jars I'm posting around Australia through on Instagram. So that's like that jar is like a ginger tamarind chutney. Our product is no MSG, no vinegar, no any color added preservative. So very fresh, very making oil, healthier oil and everything. So I got a 3 jars, condiment jars. One is vegan, ginger tamarind chutney. Second is eggplant relish. That's also no any vinegar or MSG, no color. So I avoid this all every time in my food. And third is sambal. It's one of the Malaysian authentic sambal is food. It's contains with comes with a shrimp paste. So
Beautiful.
if you want to order, so yeah, follow my Instagram or I can pass my number. So yeah, from Francis friends when Francis give the gift to friends buy from me, they contact me by mobile. So I text and send to the Cynthia. So I sell to every 3 months. I send to her.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Sandy. So, Francis, we might get those details from you so that they can go on the website at the end of our the end of this recording.
Great.
That'd be great. Other questions or comments from people? Thanks, Cess.
Okay, you're right. Oh, yes. Francis, the question for you, is this present federal government looking like it's going to be any better? We had great hopes. Well, I did. But is that the case or not?
A great question. I also had great hopes. The platform for the Labor Party when they came into when they won in the first, after the previous election, was that they would reinstate support for people seeking asylum. They would reinstate that access to some income, and they haven't done it. It was part of what they were elected on, and I would hope with a majority win that Albanese and Labor got, that they would use some of their political capital. But I think there's still that underlying great fear in Australia that really put forward by John Howard, we will decide who comes here, or that weaponizing of either refugees or people seeking asylum, and great fear that the public might think, the boats will come back, even though with all the boats, it was still a very modest number of people who came. But that real, I think Labor operates in that way. Hopefully with Minister Dutton out of the way and not having that constant negativity, there is more hope. And certainly everyone like Bang, the Refugee Council and others, we continue to advocate, currently with Tony Burke as the Minister, and we live in hope, but they're not showing signs of it yet.
Thanks, Francis. Other questions or comments? Sanji, another one from me while I'm waiting for others to think about it. Did you actually say that one of your daughters is at university?
Yes.
You don't look old enough for that. So can I ask, so did you come to Australia from Malaysia with 3 young children?
Yes.
Would you like to tell us why, or what was if you feel able, what was the background for that?
Yes. I want to speak about this time. So everyone is Malaysia is beautiful country. Yes, I agree. But honestly, my story is totally different. I'm coming here for my domestic violence, terrible domestic violence. That's why I want to save my 3 children. That's why I came here. My daughters gets a university from support and I got here. A scholarship is from Asylum scholarship supporting. So she does. She's HSC result is very good, and AAC running a scholarship program. So apply. So my daughter attend every single that meeting, and she applied, and she get now she study second year's bachelor's of psychologist with full scholarship.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that personal story. I wasn't, when I asked you the question, please feel free, any of you, to say, well, you prefer not to. I understand, but particularly from you, Sangi, when you're still applying for refugee status, that it puts you in a different position to anybody else. Mark?
Yes, Abang, thank you, and thank you, Sanji and Francis. Very, very touching, the whole thing you're offering us today. And it tends at times, I think, when we don't see so much in the media about asylum seekers, refugees, it tends to go off the radar a bit. And yet the situation for so many is still so terrible in Australia. So thank you for raising it for us again. Abang, I just wanted to ask you, in your work as educating, teaching in school, and when you are advocating with authorities in government for changing the situation, what's the experience like for you? How do you do it? How do you advocate? And how do you feel the response is for you in that?
Yeah, very good question. So I think I'm already a natural advocate because as a teacher or an educator, we are constantly advocating for our students. You know, many students that I teach also some are from refugee background, but it's very diverse. I also teach Indigenous students. It can be quite taxing, um, you know, to be able to take on everyone else's difficulties. But I also felt that because of the support I received, you know, and with my privilege, it's good to be able to contribute and give back. And so, you know, some of the ways that I advocate is by, you know, talking about my journey, sharing, or, you know, speaking about the needs, you know, why Australia would benefit from having increased numbers, for examples, of refugees, you know, and we, Francis and I went to Parliament a couple of years ago, and so there was a bipartisan group in Parliament that was formed, and you know, it was meant to support you know, this, you know, advocacy. And so I think currently what I'm really focused on is writing. I'm spending a lot of time writing my book, and I'm also spending time, you know, like helping AAC basically as a board in that capacity. But yeah, no, it can be challenging, especially as I'm juggling a lot of things, um, but nevertheless quite rewarding.
Thanks, Abang. Abang, I have a more personal question, then we'll come to Mari. Abang, have you been able to make any contact with your family of origin? You know, when you left them at 5, have you been able to make any connection with any of them?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. So what I didn't share was that very good news. I was able to track down my mom and my siblings.
Wonderful.
And I brought 10 family members to Australia at a huge cost financially and huge emotional toll. But they're here now, and trying to rebuild a life with them, even though I don't know them and they don't know me. So we were separated for 17 years, and I met them as an adult. And, you know, yeah, so we're trying to rebuild. My mom is currently living in Brisbane. I'm hoping that she would move back to Sydney. So she used to live here, but she moved to Brisbane because it was cheaper. And so I've had to commute quite a bit to help her out when her health wasn't well. But she's she's quite a remarkable woman in her own right. She went to university herself. She wanted to, you know, I said to her, why you stressing yourself? You should, you know, just rest. You've had a very difficult life. And she said that she really wanted to go to university, and she studied social work, and she has been volunteering. She hasn't got any work from it, but she's 70, and she's a survivor of cancer, so she's pushing through. And my other siblings are also on their own journeys, and you know, some are doing well like me, and some not so well. It's, yeah, quite a struggle. And I find that, you know, I'm having to share buckets of hope strategy with my own family. And we were born from the same, you know, so, and so, yeah, it's quite a journey with my family. But thanks for that question.
Thanks, Abang, because it strikes me, I don't know that I'd ever thought of before. We think family reunions and how wonderful, but to think you haven't met them for 17 years, that just wouldn't be easy because you'd all have your own stories. Mari, you had a question.
Well, I haven't got a question. This is a comment.
Mhm.
When you finished speaking for the panel to speak, I think the word that hit me was that you are not victims. I think you came across so strong that on your journey that you have sort of turned your life to empower others. But I think it's a very impressive journey. So thank you for sharing that. And also, I love that idea of the bucket of hope.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's gaining traction. A lot of people are interested in it. I actually shared it by accident at school when during assembly. A lot of my students were really struggling with mental health, and during COVID there was a lot of difficulties, and so they said to me that nobody understands, and I said I actually do understand, and then they asked me how, and I said, well, let me tell you my journey, and I told them, and I talked to them, and they said, oh, we are interested to know about buckets of hope. And so since then I talk about it, and I've spoken to 5-year-olds, to 100-year-olds, and they are interested in it. And I thought it was a very silly strategy and nobody would be interested, but I'm coming to realize that it is quite a simple but quite like a powerful way of looking. It's another way of looking at ourselves.
Thanks, Abang. We must find out when your book is published. Francis is nodding at me. And again, something that can go up on our websites, because I think, well, I, for one, I'm sure there are others listening to this afternoon that really would love the chance to read this book and perhaps encourage others to practice some of that. Sangi, were you wanting to come in? I just saw you waving at me too, in response to Mari's comment.
So
Mari's comment was about how you don't sound like victims of what's happened to you in your life.
yes, because only one thing, I want to save my 3 children. That's my biggest my biggest thing, because I have this community welcoming us, but still waiting like a limbo and everything. Not only mentally stress for me, but my children's also is getting very stressed. So my daughter at university treat as a international student because of her visa.
Oh, which means she's got to pay full fees.
Yeah, and lucky she got a full scholarship, and she can't work because she is studying, is going like an international student timing. So my 3 children until now 7 years not live like a children's, not I'm compared, but not live because they couldn't work and still full-time study and still searching opportunity. It's some because of visa, and sometimes is getting work also is very difficult because our visa is not have ending date. They want to visa expiry date. Example, reject shop. My daughter got an experience like a retailer and everything, and she not getting a job because no expiry date, no trustee. It's very hurt. Not only me, my family there. They study well. They want to perform everything well, but sometimes this is happen. They come back again and everything. It's very stressful.
So they too live through the uncertainty for their own lives, not just you as a family.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments from people? Thanks, Mark, and then Mark Hinchy, and then Mark Barclay.
Thanks for that, Sanjay. I was just going to ask Francis, could you explain, I didn't quite understand that one about the timing on the visa for the students. Could you make that a little clearer for me? Thank you. Sorry. You're unmuted.
Yeah. Sanji, if I'm right, because you don't have people who don't know what's going to happen. It's the unknown, isn't it?
Yes, because she want to already get scholarship until 2026. But she want to every year when his terms is finished, she want to give a visa status because we don't have anything the same visa status. So and everything like international student treat like the classroom as well. So when the first they can choose the schedule. So the schedule also is fill up. After that, the last minute we get a schedule for classes.
Mark, yeah, what partly the difference too, isn't it, is that there's a plethora of visas. Some people get I think this is another sort of deliberate cruelty. They get 6-month exit visas. And that, even though it gets renewed every 6 months, but it says that. It all depends what says on what it says on your visa. So we do a lot of education with employers to say, what is that reality? It's like I think what you're saying, Sanji, as well, isn't it? Is that even though our team negotiates a scholarship, there are only 13 scholarships available in New South Wales. And yet, there's 120,000 people seeking asylum in Australia in that process. So it's a credit to Sanji's daughter and how hard she studied. But it's not automatic where it gets renewed, because normally to do a university course as an international student, it's upwards of $100,000. So they want evidence, and then you have to do a Vivo check, which is a visa check, to demonstrate that you are still legal, that you've got a proper status, even though it's a temporary visa status. It's deliberately complicated. And so for people at the university, it's a relatively new thing. So it just causes lots of trouble with it. But it's still a great opportunity, because otherwise we've got all these bright young people who really want to go to university and are not able to, because there's just no pathway for them.
And also, like, employers may not trust the temporary, like, bridging visas, and so they basically reject employment because they don't know whether the person is going to stay or not. And that's why a lot of people on bridging visas are not able to sustain employment or gain employment.
And yes, can I tell one more thing?
Yes, you can, please, Sangi.
Yes. About the house, bond, and real estate as well. If we apply new house, our salary and everything is not enough as a single mom. So my salary is $750 or weekly. So no any income. We not getting house as well because of visa as well.
Because Mark, you want to...
No trustee.
Mark Barclay?
I just want to make a comment and ask Francis. First of all, I just want to say, Sangi, I mean, apart from the trauma and the waiting and the fact that you have to also support your children when there doesn't seem to be much hope, that puts another pressure on you. And I kind of, just amazing. I'm just kind of very touched by your story. And Bang, when I was working with the Sudanese families, what I found, because they had moved from Sudan and then they went to Egypt and then they're in the camps, when they came to Australia, there was this kind of false belief that once they came to Australia, everything was going to be settled and there'd be a family again. But there was so much dissonance because it was the women who got the jobs. The men felt the hierarchy was displaced. and it caused a lot of problems. The young people saying, you can't touch me. They ring up docs. Are those things still happening in your own community?
Yeah, like look, it's there's a lot of problems happening
Yeah.
within the South Sudanese community. Of course, when I was born, the country was called Sudan, and then
Yes.
now it's split, 50 years of civil war, millions of people dead. So, and within South Sudan itself, there's 64 tribes, and I'm just one of the minority tribes.
Yeah.
And so there's layers and layers of issues that a lot of people don't know. The government doesn't know. So when the government gives visa, they just assume they've given South Sudanese. But in reality, they're probably giving two tribes or one tribe who are coming to Australia. And then there's all these other different tribes. It's very, very complex. But and then once they're here, the structure, as you said, of the family dynamics, because particularly some of the tribes are very patriarchal,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know, and so when they arrive here, and the women, because in Africa the men work, and then the
Yeah.
women, they support the
Yeah.
women, and then the women look after the house.
Mm.
And particularly in some of the southern Sudanese tribes. So that has created quite a lot of challenges where there's a lot of separations within families,
Mm. Yeah.
and children obviously creating their own systems. And so in Melbourne, there's been quite a few issues, particularly with some of the young people. I think some of it also comes from not not having a sense of belonging, and so some of them have created their little groups that sometimes called in the media gangs, or
Yeah.
and so there's issues in Melbourne and Sydney and Brisbane where the schools are struggling, and certainly trying to understand how to bridge the gap between what is happening, because there's kids dropping out of school, and then there's high unemployment. And I think it's a collaborative approach. I think there are some responsibilities that the community can take themselves in terms of, like when you look at family dynamics, I also look at what can I contribute, what do I bring into, what's my contribution in these, and it's the same for the community as well. So whenever I speak to different communities, I also ask them to collaborate, not to say that everything is the problem, is the racism, so it's like looking at everyone else's, it's everyone else's fault. But we also have to take some responsibility. So there are people, say, if someone has 10 children and is in Australia, it's very difficult to survive. The cost of living is very high. So that in itself can present challenges. And if the father is not there, and the father has gone back to Africa and married another wife, or, there's just different things happening. But yes, it is quite challenging. The dynamics have changed. And I think just having that collaborative looking at the cultural sort of like safety and the understanding that, and also being in Australia. And I think that's a conversation that needs to be looked at some point.
Yeah, thank you. Just a quick question to Francis. I mean, I'm like you. I feel that whole sense. I had great hope that the Labor government would really be proactive in terms of visas, things like that. And I'm just wondering, Francis, do you have any message for us about in terms of advocating? Are there any politicians at all that are showing some insight or understanding about the issues that you've been dealing with all these years?
Look, I think there are, Bang might want to comment as well with it. I think Tony Burke, in terms of the federal minister, has got some. I think, and certainly in Sally Situ in
Yes, she's ours. Yes.
Okay, she's about to come to the centre. She's very supportive. A lot of the, nearly all the teals act on more of a social justice platform. And
Just taking note.
and with a bang as well, with the Refugee Council, we have been working around Australia to look at Friends of Parliament, Friends of Refugees in Parliament. And that's to really try and get bipartisan support and to take out this, what became much stronger under Dutton, this sort of negative weaponizing of people, of migrants, full stop, including refugees and people seeking asylum. So I think, I wouldn't give up on more he hears it. I think that's the power of community, isn't it? Is to be constant advocates and to show the government that there's not this much fear in the community as I think they fear that there is. I think we all feel for the ludicrousness that there's offshore processing, which has cost literally billions of dollars for very few people to live in, to really traumatize people and punish people for no reason. But, the closure of Manus, there are still 34 men who are left in Manus. And even the whole sector, if the government just showed that leadership to say, we're going to quietly bring them to Australia. I mean, a lot of Australians wouldn't really be up on that anyway. And there'd sort of be an embargo, I would think, within the sector and the media. And, they've been, all they did was flee persecution and seek asylum. And they're in terrible circumstance. But they are simple things that could be done with political will. And again, collaboration with the sector. To keep Nauru open, and now the case, you might have heard of the NZIQ, but it is not legal to keep people detained indefinitely. And so those people were released. And there's only about 200, but now the government, the Labor government, is trying to force them into a country. They don't even need their agreement. They could just be sent offshore. So there's 3 test cases on that. So I think it's about really watching the space, and because that's going to need people's voices to say this is just not on. So yeah, but I think we've just hopefully, there is going to be some movement with this government.
So that's a call to all of us to see if we can do something about it. So the working party might get together and see if we can even put something together that we can get out to people to say these could be the letters or what you might need to do in terms of taking some action. Frances, sorry.
I was just going to say, the other thing too, and we can give you a link on it for the website, is for people to join our newsletter, because we have, finalised our strategic plan for the next 4 years, but there's even more emphasis on systemic advocacy. And we got funding for one dedicated worker there, and we're about to start the safety net campaign. But there will be links to RCOA, there will be links to, everyone can do something, but it just keeps you up to date because we put that newsletter out every month.
That'd be great. Thanks. We'll put that link on. Thanks, Frances. I just had another question that you may or may not want to say something. Originally, we were going to have Graham Tom, with whom I know you work with as part of Amnesty International. Is there any sense of what's happening on the international scene in terms of refugees? Is there any international movement that around the world, or is it getting worse or better? Or
I'm happy to start on this, but Bang, you probably want to come in on it too. I think you've got the highest number of 122 million people displaced in the world. And yet you are starting to see, largely across Europe, the move to the right, which is really about saying, we don't want you. I was fortunate 2 years ago to take a sabbatical and look at what was happening in Europe. The country I went to that was the most positive was Portugal, because Portugal welcomes refugees, and you can actually change track, they call it, that you can come in and apply, come in as a refugee, and if you dedicate yourself to learn the language and get a job, you can stay permanently. because they've got a low birth rate and they've got a high aging population. So they need people. But I was in Lampedusa, which is that small island off Sicily, where people are coming across from Northern Africa. Now, Lampedusa's got a population of 6,000 people. There's a charity there that welcomes people when they arrive by boat and really tries to monitor what the authorities are doing with people. But in the last 48 hours I was there, 4,000 people came. And
Whoa.
so they have 35 beds. So people are just everywhere. When I left the following week, they had 8,000 people arrive by boat. So Red Cross declared it a national emergency, brought barges down, but people are trying to negotiate people out of their country. At the moment, Italy's got a beginning agreement with Albania in the same way people are mimicking the offshore processing. So, Hungary's put barbed wire around their borders because they don't want people. So, yeah, I think it's really, really difficult. And there's lots of discussions. But Abang, would you like to comment as well?
Yeah, I agree with you that the crisis has obviously gone higher. The numbers of refugees not going down, and many countries actually dealing with, higher cost of living, and so quite often the refugees or people seeking asylum become the scapegoats because if people are going through difficulties, they want somebody to blame, and so it's usually the newcomer or and I think at the moment with the crisis in Sudan and many parts of the world, some of these places are not even making news at all. I remember last year I wrote a small piece that was published in the New York Times, just highlighting the crisis in the war in Sudan, just to make it into the news because I find that at the moment, obviously, the Middle East is dominating because of everything that's happening there. But there's just so many parts of the world that are also going through terrible things. There's hunger. There's like severe malnutrition and I think collaboration and really finding solutions is something that is really critical, and I think it's just finding people that are friends or allies who can really try to come up with some of those solutions, because we can't do it by ourselves, and it's such an enormous task.
And if I could just add too, I think what's made for a lot of international charities like UNHCR, the fact that under Trump, he stopped the $68 billion of aid. And so we've got Graham has just been to Cox's Bazar to try and bring attention there to the, incredible that camp with so many people from the Rohingya community. But the withdrawal of aid provided that was previously provided by America has meant that, no camp, I'm sure you would agree, is going to be safe. But they had a lot more support for people, health support, support for women. All of that's gone. UNHCR, I think they, had to take a considerable cut. I think like 40% because they just couldn't. They were so reliant on the aid. So it's like the new partnerships that Abang's talking about, but that's also made people's lives so much harder. And it's to make America beautiful again. So it's those sort of layering, isn't it, that makes it really difficult. But really support a bank statement about Middle East, of course, is distressing, but it is getting the attention. And as you say, Sudan isn't, and nor really the plight of people, the Rohingya community. So it's interesting, the media approach.
Yeah, and also this now the diseases that were sort of like on the way out is now coming back in parts of Africa because of the shortage. And so people are dealing with multiple crises. And I think what is really impacting Africa is it's not the shortage of resources. They have so much resources, but it is, obviously this ongoing unrest, and so it's, yeah, people are escaping, and for as long as there's going to be, wars, and people will escape, and people will try to, to come, and I think the solution has to be somewhere in the middle, where some of these issues maybe can be looked at, and things like even climate is becoming also another big issue, and that these people will not just remain in their countries. So there's just a lot there, but I just think if we having just this dialogue and coming together, we can be able to look at what we can do as a piece of the puzzle. But certainly we are not able to do everything.
Oh dear. It's kind of a sad world we live in, isn't it? Where and I think that's in a moment I'm going to ask Mark to say thank you, but I think what struck me is how you keep on thinking of others, the three of you. So yes. Mark or Sess is going to say thank you to us, or maybe it's a double act. Righto, Sess. You're on mute, Mark. You need to unmute, Mark. Mark Hinchy, you need to unmute if Sess is going to say thank you.
I did. Sorry.
No, it's all right.
Yes, Francis and Abang and Sanji, the overwhelming feeling I had, or the sentiment, was courage. The courage that you have all shown. Francis, the persistence that's starting from a house that the sisters had, and, pushing on and staying with it to where you are now, which still could do with lots of funding and lots of help. To Abang as a child, the courage and as a child to come through all that and to achieve as you have done, and now to share, is just inspiring to all of us. And Sanji, my mouth was watering as you spoke about your kitchen and the spices and the food. I can smell the spices, and you yourself, who have, for the sake of your children, have fought so hard and continuing to fight. I have to just be so thankful for the gifts you've shared with us this evening. And our hope is that we, in a small way here, can, provide some support and some push politically to have these situations improved. And we wish your daughter all the very best to achieve her degree. And, we wish you all the best, and you, Francis, for your retirement. So after the years you've given. So thank you very much.
I think it's going to be retirement. It's just a break before she goes and gets another
retiring,
job.
I'm sure. It'll be something else.
Something else, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And thank you all, the others, all the rest of you, for coming. And please, we will hopefully get this up on our website soon, because I know we do have people who can't come at this time of the day because of other things coming, but do enjoy being able to look at from the website at a later time. So thank you all, and particularly thanks, Sess, for your lovely words of thanks to Francis and Abang. And
can we remind, or Francis might supply us with Sanji's contacts and addresses? I'm no good at Instagram and Facebook, but
we'll definitely give you the links, and we can work with Sanji to help that.
Thank you.
Also just want to say thank you for all of your interest, and your interest over many, many years as well. it is really important, and it's again that persistence. So thank you for the opportunity and for hosting today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a
Thank
great
you all.
afternoon.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very
so
much.
much.
Yeah,
Thank you
on
very
your
much.
own.
Thank you all.
Very good.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Yay.
Thank you.
Yay.